Bleach 1000-Year Blood War has just revealed everything Kubo wanted to when the manga was running. Backstory of the Quincy's? Check. What and who is the Soul King? Check. More Aizen? Is that even a question? Of course!
We are back, baby. We are f***ing back!
In fact, those of you who have read the manga might have noticed that a lot of Core 3 was really different. So let me go through every change and explain what it means for the final battle in Bleach Core 4. Because there's like, 26 chapters worth of content left? And it's all battles. Studio Period will have to add a whole season's worth of new content in Core 4. And I swear to God, if I do not hear Aizen say Bankai, I might just jump off a bridge.
Donald Trump, if you can hear us, please, Donald Trump, please save me.
The changes started right off the bat with just episode 1. Remember, we left off with the Royal Guards versus Squad Zero, where a pretty disappointing fight in the manga was completely transformed, as it revealed one of Squad Zero's Bankai. Why only one? Well, because these guys are so strong, if more than one of them were to use their full power, it would completely disrupt the balance of the multiverse. So in order for just Senjumaru to use her Bankai, all the members of Squad Zero, minus Ichigo, had to off themselves. And this Bankai is just on a different caliber, dude, as it releases tremors across the Soul Society, Hueco Mundo, and the world of the living, where in an instant, it's able to trap all the Quincy Royal Guards within tapestry in a pocket dimension where Senjumaru is basically god of everything. Meanwhile, Yhwach is getting his ass clapped by Ichigo, turning him into a black ant, so it's safe to say the war is over, right? Like Yhwach's dead, we're good, we can all go back to the world of the living and Ichigo can go bang Orihime, right?
Nope.
Yhwach comes back with a vengeance, finally activating the Almighty in a very convenient time if you are a manga reader. But the anime actually gives us some context as to why he waited this long to actually use it, linking back to the prophecy of the Quincy King, that Yhwach will gain his pulse after 900 years, his mind after 90 years, and his powers after 9 years. Up until this point, the 9 years weren't up, and in this exact moment, Yhwach's eyes were finally opened. Is it kind of BS? Yeah, maybe, but it's certainly better than him just suddenly going, yeah, here's my full strength now in the manga. While the Almighty is used to absolutely embarrass Ichigo, the anime actually focuses more on Uryu versus Senjumaru, where his stocks have absolutely skyrocketed from this core alone, with Yhwach's Shrift activating and awakening Uryu's own power as well, the antithesis. For those who have forgotten what this does, it basically just lets Uryu switch his positions in battle with his enemy, also giving them all the pain he's endured. Senjumaru got this man completely cornered, but with just one use of his Shrift, he catches the Squad Zero member off guard long enough to shoot her right through the heart. No way Uryu, of all characters, was the one who killed a member of Squad Zero. Like, one of the strongest Soul Reapers to ever live? But the following episodes give us even more new info, not only relating to Yhwach, but the Soul King himself. First of all, we get a flashback with massive lore implications for Bleach, showing us the Soul King's version of the Almighty and the primordial world of Bleach. We learn that Yhwach was around in this world in some way, shape, or form, making it more likely that he was the actual son of the Soul King and not some spiritual successor due to the Almighty. We see Yhwach witness his father separate the 3 worlds of Bleach, create the cycle of life and death, watch hopelessly as the 5 elders mutilate his dad and shove him in a crystal, and then after all that, bro gets reverted back to being a baby, which all signifies that he was reborn into the modern Bleach world somewhere down the line. This gives us a ton of new info on Yhwach and why he wants to recreate the primordial world. He knew what a world without death was like, and he also knew that his father foresaw everything that would happen in Bleach, including the Quincy massacre 1,000 years ago. This is why Yhwach hates the Soul King, and truly believes a world without life and death would be the best possible realm for his people to live in. Killing the Soul King is not only about revenge, but also ending his father's humiliation, being treated like a tool. It's during this moment of exposition we also see Uryu's dad Ryuken, holding the Silver of Stillness. This is foreshadowing the silver arrowhead that will eventually nullify Yhwach's powers, as this silver is a key ingredient for forging it. If you guys don't remember what this arrowhead was, it basically just came out of fucking nowhere and it shot Yhwach and all of his powers just they went away and Ichigo just slashed him and killed him. So it might be a small detail, but in the manga, it came out of nowhere, so actually really glad they added this in. At the same time, we also learned that Ukitake was the one to kill Kenpachi after his fight against Gremmy and the Bambis. It's another small detail, but it explains how Kenpachi was able to fight at full strength during the raid on Yhwach's royal palace. Anyways, enough with the boring shit. It's finally time to talk about Ichigo versus Yhwach Round 2. This fight is entirely exclusive to the anime, giving us almost 10 minutes of uninterrupted action. Not only does the animation go absolutely crazy, showcasing the true might of Ichigo's power-up, but we also get to see Getsuga Jujisho again. In the manga, we only saw it once against the Bambis, and in Core 3 alone, Ichigo has used it multiple times, making it feel more like an actual part of his arsenal and not a one-time powerful attack. Ichigo pretty much dominates this fight until Yhwach pulls out the Almighty. And I mean, come on, that isn't even fair. He's using a million levels of hacks. Ichigo obviously loses the fight, leading both of them back to the Soul King's crystal. This is where we get what is, in my opinion, the coolest new revelation of this core, the Soul King's name, Adonais. Adonais? I don't really know. This ties back to the Archon of Nocticism, representing the sun who is responsible for keeping mortal souls bound to the earth, which is similar to the Soul King being the heart of the three worlds and essentially being responsible for the circulation of souls, aka life and death. Next, we finally learn why Ichigo was the one who had to kill the Soul King. Remember, by the time Ichigo even arrived at the royal palace, Yhwach had already stabbed him. So why wasn't he dead? Well, we never knew this in the manga, but in the anime, it's revealed that Yhwach actually couldn't kill his father. Despite how strong the Quincy King is, Adonais can only be killed by someone equal to him in terms of spiritual DNA. In other words, you have to be a Shinigami, Hollow, Quincy, human, and Fullbring hybrid. And who just happens to be all of the above? Ichigo. This also makes a lot of sense because in Can't Fear Your Own World, Ichibei says that Ichigo was literally about to become the Soul King. So Yhwach used Aizen levels of big brain planning here, purposely stabbing the Soul King with a sword infused with his spiritual pressure, knowing good guy Ichigo's pullout game was just too strong. This allows the sword to react to Ichigo's Quincy blood, one that can accept the Soul King's existence, which finally puts an end to his life. After this, Chad actually does something in his own anime, because our boy lands a single punch on the Quincy King.
Mission failed. We'll get him next time.
But it's not just Chad taking the L's, as we also get some very small fights between the Royal Guards and Ganju, Chad, and Orihime. More importantly, another major addition we get comes in the form of a conversation between Ukitake and Unohana in a flashback right after Yamamoto's death. Ukitake and Unohana both knew they had to die at this point. Unohana needed to sacrifice herself in order to allow Kenpachi to reach his full potential, and Ukitake had to take the place of the Soul King temporarily as he possessed the dude's right arm. Why is this important? Well, Ukitake says he will see her soon. And what happens to the captains once they die? Well, the Kanso Reisai is performed, casting the captains into hell. This is probably a hint at the Hell Arc in some way, shape, or form, which is really exciting. But nobody gives a f about that, as the anime gives us something we've wanted for almost a decade. A full-on fight between Ichigo and Uryu. Yeah, for some abysmal reason, these two never duked it out during the Soul Reaper and Quincy War. Now, I know Uryu was a double agent, but Yugrim was watching his ass like a hawk, so we should have gotten something. And oh boy, did the anime absolutely cook with this fight, as it gave Uryu a massive power-up as we finally get to see his Volstandik. Ishido's holy form gives him futuristic wings, as well as leg and arm guards similar to Ichigo's Fullbring Shinigami form. While in this powered-up state, Uryu summons his arrows like normal, taking the form of a small, almost paper-like origami shape, which Uryu can split up and control as he wishes, locking onto a target and even using them to capture an opponent within a circular formation. Despite Ichigo's massive power boost, Uryu is able to stay on equal footing with him. Now, obviously Ichigo is holding back here because, you know, he doesn't want to kill one of his best friends, but Uryu isn't. And the battle comes to a climactic finish between Getsuga Jujisho and Uryu's brand new attack, Sternenstab. This attack is a great Quincy arrow which splits into 4 laser beams after its release. These beams slowly transform into the shape of a Quincy symbol and are strong enough to counter and even overpower a weakened Getsuga Jujisho, as Ishida puts a literal hole through the side of Ichigo's stomach. In the manga, this fight, Uryu's transformation, and even Ichigo getting quote-unquote killed never happened. Ishido legit fires an arrow at Ichigo and leaves so Hashwolf doesn't call an emergency meeting and call him sus. But what if I told you the Uryu stocks weren't done going up because we have another fight to talk about involving this dude? Now, before we can cover that, there are some small changes that occur before the Soul Society infiltrates the royal palace. The first is Shunsui giving a speech to the Gote 13. This isn't anything special, but it's a nice character moment, showing that Shunsui has really grown into the leader role, carrying on the legacy of both Yamamoto and Ukitake. But if I'm being honest, the funniest thing about this whole scene is Aizen just chilling in the chair listening this whole time. And from how many changes, including brand new battles Period has added to Bleach, I am fairly certain that we will get to see Aizen getting out of his chair in the final core. Because let's be honest, in the manga, the final battle with Yhwach felt extremely rushed, especially us not even seeing Aizen or Ichigo's Bankai, and then the random stillness arrow just shows up to do the deed. It wasn't satisfying at all. So we will definitely see full power Hogyoku Aizen. Like, this man with his aura alone did what no captain could do: save the Soul Society. Because you know, it's his Yokuzo Watashi no Soul Society. Moving on, the 27th addition to the anime has to do with Ichigo's group, where Ichigo reveals that he once went to the Valley of Screams. Now, you're probably wondering what that even is, and I was too, but it's actually from the first Bleach movie. So, yeah, that's canon now. I mean, this changes literally nothing about the story, but it's a cool reference to one of Bleach's older projects. But what if I told you the next change was the biggest one yet? A fight that nobody expected. Uryu versus Renji. Surely Renji is gonna get a W this time. I mean, he's got his Zanpakuto's true power, and no, he loses again. However, Renji and Uryu really gave it their all here. First of all, we get to see Renji use So'o Zabimaru again, which is a really nice touch considering he only used it once in the entire arc, being against the muscular Quincy. And this allows us to analyze it further, as during this fight, Renji uses the Bankai Snake attribute a lot more, which is super similar to his OG Bankai. The snake not only serves as an extension of the sword, but can grab enemies and thrust them into walls, like with Uryu. But more importantly is Renji's brand new attack, Zangai Zeko. This move can only be used 20 seconds after the Bankai activates, told to Renji by Ichibei during a flashback of his time training at the Royal Palace. Renji pours more spiritual pressure into his true Bankai, where the snake part of his sword is grabbed by the monkey arm and swung around like a whip at superhuman speeds, transforming it into a fiery tornado, which when landed on the enemy becomes a giant explosion. But Uryu has even more brand new capabilities, as we not only get to see his Bolshendik for a second time, but also witness him survive Zaga Teppo, the attack that turned Renji's previous opponent into ash. Bro didn't even use antithesis, he just straight up tanked it. What's even more impressive is another brand new attack from Uryu, Fender Swinger, his Scalvarive. Here, the mini arrow projectiles come together in a chain-like formation, caging their enemy. Lasers come out of the change, extracting the spiritual pressure of whatever or whoever is inside. And if all your Ryatsu is extracted, your Bankai and Shikai are instantly deactivated, which is what happens to Renji. Bro had his true Bankai and still lost. Like, I'm sorry, he's not beating the allegations, guys. From there, the anime actually goes pretty much one-to-one with the manga, covering both the Mayuri and Shunsui fights, revealing their new Bankais and really capping off their characters. But if you want to see what those two are really all about, I already have videos covering them. The thing I was interested in though the most was the new stuff revolving around the Quincy's, as we get a small scene of little Tite and Giselle fighting alongside the other Bambis, who are now zombified, as they take on Yhwach's new minions, seemingly made out of those weird baby monster things. We also get a bit more context surrounding Hashwolf and Basby's backstory. Firstly, we finally get confirmation that Yhwach grew up in an abusive household. In the manga, he talks about his uncle in a way that sets him up to be abusive, but in the anime, we get to see him actually interact with him. His uncle taunts him, saying he can't do anything without him, and even calling the soon-to-be Sternritter his precious Yugo.
Ew! Dude! What the fuck? fuck?
We also get a better look at Boss B and Yugo's home being destroyed by Yhwach, as it was this moment when their town was massacred and Bazz-B lost his mother, which prompted the two to go and kill the son of God. Even though they were Quincy's already, Yhwach only cared about conquering as much land as possible. Now, things didn't exactly work out this way, as Yugrum becomes Yhwach's right-hand man, but it's still nice to see Bozz's despair, giving us a better idea for how much he hated Yhwach in the past, as well as just showcasing how brutal he was during his reign 1,000 years ago. And this leads us into the 1-hour season finale. And yeah, there's a lot here to cover. First of all, Renji returns to the field after losing for the 1 millionth time, and he is, by divine luck, found by Hiyori in the Vizards, getting healed by Hachi, and is now back for the fight against Gerard Valkyrie. We also have some moments focusing on the world and the other side characters, which starts off with Ukitake's seal on the Soul King breaking, as we get to see the full extent of the destruction, with tremors happening across all 3 worlds, and Ichigo's sister Karin even taking notice of it. Hueco Mundo also literally starts to crack open. Also, going back to Karin, even though the world is getting destroyed, she's still locked in on this game, and you know what? I can respect the grind. Another brand new scene we get to see is little Tite and Giselle actually making it to Yhwach, ready to throw hands for tossing them away like trash. And yeah, they got stomped while this man was asleep. Talk about cannon fodder, like, for real.
Your life is nothing. You serve zero purpose.
There's also a brand new scene with Riruka and Yukio as they descend back to the Soul Society to Kukaku Shiba's place. Why? Well, they don't answer this in Core 3, but I'm pretty sure they're picking up Jinjo and Tsukishima, because they have to get to the Royal Palace to fix Ichigo's Bankai somehow. Plus, the last time we both saw these guys, they were with Kukaku, so it adds up. But who cares about that, because we get to see the goated dads meet up, as Ishin is with Ryuken at a graveyard before they go to the Royal Palace. In the manga, they just kind of spawned in, so I appreciate the fact that Kubo is taking the time to add these little details. This is the same case with Uryu, as in the manga, he was just there with the Sternbitters, but in the anime, we see him gradually learn more about the Quincy's origins before eventually being confronted by Yugrum. And as much as I want to talk about the Uryu stuff that really caps off the season, there's still one more thing that happens first that just made my day. The Vizards are using their f***ing hollow masks against Gerard. Like, oh my god, the fact they didn't do this in the manga made literally no sense. I mean, really, you just have this super broken power and you don't use it. Thank god they fixed this. I'm actually like,
Lord have mercy, I'm about to bust.
Sorry. Ishida's been the star of the show this whole season, getting new powers and abilities that are totally going to be used in his fight against Yugrum during the finale, right? Yeah, we actually don't get that fight. They pranked us.
Got him! Got him!
I was so ready to see these two duke it out, but I guess we gotta wait who knows how long for Core 4. But if I'm being honest, I'm not that mad, as we got a lot of new context regarding Uryu's motivations. It's all the same as before. Uryu hates Yhwach for killing his fellow Quincy's to increase his power. But in the anime, we get to see more of this, as we watch Misaki lose her powers while fighting against Grand Fisher, and Uryu almost dying. This leads me to something kind of insane, but hear me out. Katagiri holds up her son pretty much unscathed by the Ashwaulan while Uryu's on death's door. So what if she had the antithesis originally and used that to swap her and Uryu's injuries, meaning that she transferred the power to him and took on his strain, eventually leading to her dying of the disease that killed her. So in that case, Uryu isn't special at all. He wasn't supposed to survive the Ashwaulan, but because of Katagiri, he did. Furthermore, Soken reveals in his journal that Yhwach is far from the savior the Quincy's believe him to be, that he used the Ashwaulan to kill his children in order to increase his powers. Soken predicts that Yhwach hates the world for how they treated the Quincy's 1,000 years ago. He'll stop at nothing to erase it, which we know is true. Then, he pleads for Uryu to protect the current world on his honor as a Quincy to save the ones he loves. So now we know that Uryu busted Renji's ass and put a hole through Ichigo just to keep up with the royal guards from calling an emergency meeting and outing him as the imposter. We also see Ishida say something to Renji before leaving, most likely spilling the fact he's a double agent. But even after knowing this, Uryu keeps up the act. I mean, Haschwolf is right there with the Almighty, trying to bust his balls. This man has looked for an excuse to kill him this whole time, and so Uryu has no choice but to continue fighting Ichigo. This happened in the original, but All Uryu did before turning on Yhwach was shooting a couple of arrows at Ichigo. Here we get a full-on extended fight, with Ichigo using Getsuga Tensho and Uryu using his holy form and new attacks. Now, this isn't necessarily a new addition from a storytelling perspective, but they do something really cool at Yugram's version of the Almighty. Remember, the Quincy second in command has the ability to swap powers with Yhwach when he's asleep. So when Ichigo leaves to go kill the Quincy King while he's taking a nap, Uryu is left to deal with the strongest power in Bleach's history. Yugram mentions that Uryu is now a different man. He's so full of hope, and Uryu responds by absolutely roasting him, saying that him being surprised makes him wonder how almighty his version of Yhwach's power absolutely is. And Yugo gets mad, bro. The wolf is almost out. But what I want to focus on is the fact that Yugo's version of the Almighty glows blue from time to time. Since he directly swaps powers with Yhwach, he naturally gets the Quincy King's red eyes. But if flashing his natural blue from time to time might be a visual key of the anime, showcasing that this dude is just a ripoff, not having nearly as much strength or aura as Yhwach himself. And I wish I could say the core ends there, with the stakes being higher than ever before, and Ichigo getting ready for his final fight with the Quincy King, but no. The anime decides to be goofy and have Askin yap about girls and coffee for 5 whole minutes. Hold on, there's actually new info here too? Bleach decides to give us new info in the weirdest way possible, as Askin actually reveals the original Quincy Royal Guards, the very same ones that invaded the Soul Society with Yhwach 1,000 years ago. Sadly, we don't learn anything about their powers, but we do get their names. Johann Seiditz, Hubert Alexander Kleisch, Argo Lalau, and Nikita Desla. Honestly, their designs are sick, and I totally butchered their names. But it does make me wonder if we'll see more flashbacks with them, considering, you know, they're dead now. Also, I just really want to take some time to say thank you for all the support you guys have given me coming onto the channel and yapping about Bleach for who knows how long. I'm going to be doing a lot more content in the future, including solo leveling, so you guys are going to see a lot more of me coming forward, so I hope y'all will stick with me, because this has been a lot of fun, and I appreciate you all.